It's been several days since founding Motley Crue guitarist Mick Mars sued the band, accusing them of attempting to reduce his share from 25% down to 5% in the band after he announced he was retiring from touring. He also says they attempted to get him to sign a severance agreement. He says he's not backing down. He says he's done that in the past, but this time he's serious and he's not intimidated by the band. And as for Motley Crue, they're saying that back in 2008, every member of the band, including Mick, voted for and agreed to that if any individual member were to retire from touring, they wouldn't be entitled to touring revenue. So that's where it stands right now. And obviously, everyone's been talking about this. I've noticed in the comments of these videos that a sizable majority of the audience feels as though they agree with Mick Mars. And now you have some very big rock musicians also weighing in and voicing very public support for Mick Mars. Stick around. Before we continue, if you're new to Rock Feed or if you've been watching and haven't yet subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe button with notifications on for the latest rock news and future updates about this story. And also, we've teamed up with DWP to give away 4 VIP weekend passes to one of these festivals of your choosing. These lineups are incredible. I can't wait to see Limp Bizkit at Incarceration. They are amazing live. For full details and to enter, visit the link in the description. Obviously, the last several days, everybody has been talking about this situation with Motley Crue, and now you're even starting to see some rock legends weighing in on this. But one of the things that really struck me was seeing just how many of you, the viewers in the comments, were voicing support for Mick Mars. And I really tried to keep it fair here, and it is just very noticeable that a lot of people are really speaking out and voicing support for Mick Mars. I've seen some other polls on social media that have thousands of voters, like on Twitter, and there's 90+% support. We're going to look at that in just a second. But first, I wanted to get to some of your comments because you had some interesting points here. This fan with 700 likes on his comments said, "Sad to see this happening. Mick deserves better." This fan wrote, "My one experience seeing Motley Crue live was on the farewell tour in summer 2014. I focused most of my attention on Mick because I'm a crappy guitar player and wanted to see how he'd do given his health situation. Let me tell you, I have seldom had my guitar expectations exceeded the way they were that night. Dude played his ass off, didn't flub anything that I noticed, and was faster, more fiery, and all around more committed than any studio track I've heard from him. In fact, he was so lit up. That was the highlight of the entire performance. Even though he wasn't able to move around or put on a visual show, he says Nikki Sixx is full of it." And now we have this reaction coming in from some very big rock musicians. You've got Stephen Pearcy from Rat. You've got Neil Schon from Journey. You've got KK Downing also weighing in and saying this is very similar to a situation that he has dealt with. First, you have Rat frontman Stephen Pearcy saying this has all been going on since back in 1982. He says, "Sorry kids, it's been going on since circa 82. Why Robin King Crosby and I never understood. This was during the Gladiators period. If Robin was around, he'd speak up on this mess in a second, believe me, and not be happy. I've told my rat tale already." This user responded saying, "So they wanted to get rid of Mick since 82? Then why the hell did they hire him? What a joke." Pearcy says, "He brought in the money and named the band." And then you have legendary Journey guitarist Neil Schon, who responded to this poll on Twitter that got 2,800 votes, with 90% saying they are on Team Mick. Neil Schon responds and says, "Mick." And he says, "Given his health issues and his obvious swagger he gives to the band through his guitar playing, he didn't deserve this." He then tweeted this Blabbermouth article, says, "Pro Mick, sound familiar as trying to vote me off the board of directors? Does anyone recall that? Paranoia? BS, real facts." He then responded in the comments and said, "All artists need to be sober and on top of business as it's the worst I've ever seen in my whole professional career." And then you have KK Downing, who departed Judas Priest back in 2011, also voicing support for Mick Mars. He says this is similar to a situation that he's faced. He said, "I do sympathize with Mick because I'm going through exactly the same thing, and it's pretty unsavory to say the least. After spending a lifetime building the band's name, reputation, popularity, and value, in particular brand name, it should be all right for people to retire, especially through illness. In my case, we were gearing up in 2010 to do a final world tour, the Epitaph Tour, which was meant to be the end of the band. And because I was having pressure to put on me to write an EP to support that tour, which I absolutely was not going to be any part of, I certainly didn't want to finish my career with an EP. So I threw in the towel and sent a retirement letter in. And he said that it really wasn't the band he was leaving. It was that I decided not to do the farewell final tour of the band because that's what we all agreed And that's what was intended to happen. So essentially, my decision was just not to do the final tour. Of course, I didn't know the band would continue at that time right up until today. Otherwise, things and decisions may well have been different. But as I said, I sympathize with Mick because the circumstances between the two of us seem to be pretty much, well, identical. So this is a huge controversy, and a lot of people seem to be siding with Mick Mars at present. And people are saying that this may have been going on for some time, referring to maybe some infighting within the band. Of course, we know the band has had a very tumultuous career over their history. Again, it is worth noting that back when that original retirement from touring announcement came out, it said specifically that Mick would remain a member of the band. That's your latest update from Rockfeed. Don't forget to follow along on Instagram. I am posting numerous times a day there. Join the conversation. And for the full rundown of Mick Mars' case against Motley Crue, you can click the card up on your screen.